Right. Fun recap episode.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the episode we recorded last week was destroyed in upload somehow.
Well, that's okay because we have exciting news. I guess we could wait till the end to share.
Sure.
That way people have to listen, right?
Yeah. Tease it out.
If we tell them now, they'll just be like, oh, good to know, and they'll log off.
Cool. I'm just about ready to kick off.
Yeah, sure. So I'll do a little intro.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, as our longtime fans know, Small Town Strange is a place to hear stories of the weird and unusual. We focus on the often overlooked intersections of history and science. And as I said at the beginning, we're going to recap last week's Lost episode and share some fun news about future episodes.
Cool. Yeah, last week we tried to share a story on an interesting figure in the New England scientific community and his connection to Professor Stair, as well as a couple recorded calls that we had with the professor. But the episode was lost in upload, but we can still share the calls tonight.
Excellent. So did you want to start? Last week's episode, we had a story about a moth importing Frenchman, artist, astronomer.
Yeah, man, what an interesting guy. The connection between him and Stair is minor, but his story is so interesting it had to be told. I was kind of combing the astronomy departments of local universities when I came across his name and story, and man, is it an interesting one. So his name is Etienne Leopold Trouvelot. He moved to Medford, Massachusetts from France in 1851, fleeing Napoleon's coup. And he had been a painter his whole life, like a painter, like an artist by trade, like was able to support a family with the work that he did. And but he arrives here and like catches that American dream bug and decides he's going to start a silk trade in the United States because he is disturbed by how much silk we import. So he studies local species of caterpillar and selects one that seems to be good for silk production, and kind of creates this like setup in his backyard where he's got these bushes and he's got cheesecloth over the bushes, and he keeps the caterpillars under the cheesecloth, and they produce marvelous silk and are like energy efficient silk producers. The cheesecloth is adequate to keep them where they belong and to protect them from the local robins, which he estimated would, like, the robins were all the control that species required in New England. Okay. So he thought he had hit it. He was going places with these caterpillars, and then a pestilence struck and killed all of that species of caterpillar in this region.
Gotcha.
He was, determined that his idea wasn't crazy and he was going to succeed. So he imported a particular species of caterpillar from Europe to replace his caterpillars. And that species is Lamontria dispar, otherwise known as the gypsy moth.
Okay.
So this is the man responsible for bringing the gypsy moth plague to the United States single-handedly. He brought multiple egg masses, had them in his laboratory, claims later to have left his laboratory window open one night, and a few of the moths escaped. And now we have to spend something like $700 million a year to just not be obliterated by them. Like we're not like they're not like handled, they're not controlled, they're just like mitigated to a degree that we can all like continue to have trees.
Well, that's something. But to counteract his act of eco-terrorism, he made some strides in astronomy.
Yeah,
I guess that's where the loose connection to your professor is.
Yes, he pivots out of entomology really quickly. Hey, bud. He, just a few years after his caterpillar debacle, he was invited to Harvard University to have a look through their telescope, and was so blown away by his view of the night sky from Harvard University's observatory that he decided to return to his original career of painting, and he began painting incredibly detailed astronomical paintings. And his paintings impressed the faculty of Harvard so much that he was invited to join the faculty at the astronomy department. And after a few short years there, he had developed a technique to fix like reticle plates to the optics of telescopes to sort of project an image that he could copy more accurately. So he like greatly increased the accuracy of astronomical illustrations in his time as well. That work got him the attention of the U.S. Naval Observatory, and he was offered a position there in 1875. So he takes a position at the Naval Observatory, and while at the Naval Observatory, he produces something in the somewhere near 15,000 incredibly accurate illustrations that go on, that are still hung in the walls there today, that are still revered as some of the most incredible contributions to astronomy of that century. And he's sort of at the height of his career and influence when he very abruptly leaves the United States. Leaves behind an apprentice. Let me see if I can find his name. An apprentice named Micah Schmidt, who had worked with him at the Naval Observatory. And he moves to the Modin Observatory in France, directed by Jules Janssen. Who's another very famous astronomer of the time. And what they work on at the Modin Observatory is Urbain Le Verrier is another famous French astronomer at the time, who was hot off the recent work of helping to discover Venus, if I'm not mistaken. And he noticed that Mercury's orbit transits faster than Newtonian math allows for, and posits that there must be another planet between Mercury and the sun. And he announces that it's there and announces that it's called Vulcan, and then sort of dares the rest of the astronomical community to go and find it.
And the reason being, it requires a planet's worth of gravity to pull Mercury out of a standard elliptical orbit.
Yeah, the thinking at the time.
That's it, right.
So he spends a few years with Janssen searching for Vulcan, and it's very well documented that the two have a toxic rivalry. They hate each other, though it's not recorded anywhere in significant detail why, what their problem is. But it's also covered in his biography that Trouvelot lapses into a deep depression during this time, sees nothing of anybody, and dies fairly young in 1895, having never recovered from that depression. So what he found while working in Modin, or what Janssen took credit for or wouldn't let him announce. It's never. We still don't know. We don't know what the problem was at Moden, but
Right.
but he died young and unhappy, and left behind an apprentice who would later go on to be faculty at the Round Hill School, and that will become more interesting a little bit later.
Yes, I found some things about some of the, I guess, worldviews, you could say, of faculty members that I think will be interesting in the future.
Oh yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I think you're going to like what I found. So
cool.
We'll stick a pin in it for down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, the two roads that I have followed that lead there are both weird. I'm excited to get deeper into it.
Okay.
So the other thing, or what you got?
No, go ahead.
Just to get back to Stair for a minute, and the connection there is Schmidt would leave the Roundtree School and later become faculty at MIT, where Stair is incidentally faculty 100 years later. I did try to call him 2 times, leading up to last week's episode, and we do have those calls if you want to play them.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to say while I dig them up?
Yeah, no. I think we're good.
All right. Here's the first call. The first time I tried to get back in touch with him after speaking to him about the observatory, he didn't want to talk. And here's that audio. Let me know how it sounds afterwards. Hello? That's not it. Here we go. Hello?
Who's this?
Hey, are you there?
Who is this?
It's Gerard. We spoke last week about the quabbel.
What? Shut up about that. It's not safe to talk now.
All right. And here's the second call. Hello, Professor?
Who is this?
This is Gerard. I know what the notch is, and I think we need to talk. I've been trying to get a hold of you for 2 weeks. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. It took this long to rig up a stable means of communication.
What does that mean?
I don't even have time to explain right now. What do you need from me? What do you want?
I have questions about the telescope, about FCRAO, about the note that you found.
Smart guy. You want to part the veil, huh? You want to find the door between Eisenach and Gotha? Many do. You haven't even learned enough to know what to ask.
Why was the antenna inverted? And what's the subcroft?
I'll tell you what. You think you're ready to walk this path? Why don't you find me at 46 Brattle Street in Boston?
So yeah, that one was a bit more fruitful.
Could you, some of the references, I mean, I know we discussed them, but for people that missed the last episode.
Yeah, so Stair, when he was working at the observatory at the Quabbin Reservoir, when he was tasked with cleaning it out before it was taken apart and removed from the site, he told me that he had found a note, and the note was cryptic, but it did mention notifying the notch. And I did some research on what the notch is, and turns out it's a hardened bunker constructed in 1958 during the Cold War by the Air Force, and it's to serve as a fallback command center in the event of a nuclear war. It was connected via microwave communication to other facilities across the country. It's supposed to have closed in 1970, but many of the documents concerning what went on there are still classified. It's cleared out now, and it's coincidentally listed as library storage for the same 5 colleges that built the observatory. I called to see if I could be permitted to access the site or speak with anyone who had worked there, and no one seemed to want to help me out. So I don't know who was at the notch when that note was written or when the transmission it refers to was received. But yeah, so that's kind of a dead end.
What the address though? That's Cambridge. They said Boston, but Bridal Street. That's Cambridge, right?
Yeah. I looked into that a little bit too, and there was a Brattle Street in Boston. It was demolished in 1962 as part of the Government Center project. Incidentally, 46 Brattle Street in Boston was the site of the very first Radio Shack. So I have no idea how one might meet someone there today.
Yeah, that's a random. I don't know. We got a question about what are the 5 colleges? We spoke about that with the Quabbin Reservoir piece and the observatory they built there, but maybe you could reference the 5.
It's interesting. It's 5 colleges just in Western Massachusetts. While Harvard and MIT are both sort of later connected to the site, initially it's UMass Amherst College, Mount Holyoke College, Smith. It's all colleges in that area that built the site.
Gotcha. So that's weird. So we talked about a radio telescope that was pointed downward before it was dismantled and received a signal. We talked about this hardened bunker that somehow connected, and a professor that seems to not want to say much, but also seems to want to challenge you to dig deeper somehow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, we have work to do. Let's talk about the future of the show and what direction we're moving into.
Yeah. So the loss of last week's episode made it apparent that going live and hoping to record it afterwards is not a sustainable, reliable thing. We have aspirations of finer production as well. Like, we'd like to have a title screen and a logo and maybe some sounds, and we'd like to have it easier to share something like an audio clip. So we're going to be pre-recording our episodes and uploading them on sort of a bi-weekly basis. So we'll be recording one Monday, publishing the following Monday. So you can expect a new episode roughly every 2 weeks. And
excellent. Now people that are driving or jogging will be able to listen instead of watch and risk injury.
We will continue to upload them to like IGTV. We'll be uploading episodes to YouTube, and we hope to expand to places like Spotify in the near future. But we have to record a few and see how that all works out first.
Excellent. Well, stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, okay. So, teaser for next time, we're doing Round Hill School.
Yeah. I think you wanted to look a little bit into Round Hill School, and I want to look a little bit deeper into the maybe never was planet Vulcan.
Okay. Sounds fun.
Cool.
Well, we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Good night.
And we'll update them on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, have a good night. Thank you.